It was 6 years ago yesterday that Britain voted to leave the EU. And to listen to those neurotic, obsessive die-hard Remainers, who as long as they draw breath will never accept we have left, you would think it had been an unmitigated disaster. It is what they want you to think. It is what they will spend their entire lives trying to make you think. Because, in their pea-brains, the bloated, unelected, protectionist mob in Brussels are our true leaders. Never mind that most Europeans think the bloc will fall apart in 20 years. Never mind that COVID has shown many EU countries the bloc prevents them from looking after their own national interests. Of course, global inflation, the war in Ukraine and the current cost of living crisis are a gift for Remoaners. Look what's happening, they gloat. It's because of Brexit. And they are being aided in that nonsensical assertion by panicking airline bosses who are screaming that the current chaos is all down to Brexit, when it's 100% down to their own incompetence for sacking tens of thousands of staff during COVID, whilst trousering millions from government, and failing to rehire quickly enough, because they are offering crap money. But Brexit is working, even the former chief Brexit negotiator Lord Frost says it is, despite the EU's best efforts to try to wreck it. With the war in Ukraine and the pandemic, he says it is hard to see what, if any, changes in trade are down to Brexit. But that is not good enough for Remainers who, in tandem with our pro-Brussels establishment, are forever shouting that everything bad in Britain is down to Brexit. They have to paint it as a disaster so they can try to reverse it. But let us compare the growth of our economy since 2016 to the first quarter of 2022 with Europe's Big Four using IMF data: UK, 6.8%, France, 6.2%, Germany, 5.5%, Italy, 2.1%, and Spain, 5%. Not bad for the pathetic little country our unpatriotic Remainers would have you believe Britain now is. Yes, world events have prevented us from moving as quickly as we should have done to capitalize on Brexit, but we have done scores of trade deals and more are in the pipeline. And remember, while the EU faffed about during the pandemic, we rolled out a life-saving vaccine program. And Brussels' response to that was to try to restrict vaccines coming into this country, which could ultimately have killed people. While the EU dithered over what to do about Ukraine, we were already in there helping. Again, the EU followed us. And after we took back our sovereignty, last week we saw even that being interfered with by a European court in Strasbourg, where an anonymous judge overturned an order to deport migrants to Rwanda even though British courts had ruled the order was lawful. Hell, even Prince Charles seems to be getting in on sabotage Brexit by calling the Rwanda plan appalling, pretty damned insulting to the Rwandan people who he is currently visiting as future head of the Commonwealth. So, what is his plan to beat the traffickers and stop those deadly migrant crossings? Oh, hang on, he has not got one, and Boris was right to rebuke him for his, and others, condescending attitudes about a totally revitalized country which is now being called the Singapore of Africa. For months Boris has been under the cosh over Partygate, which has allowed Remainers to crawl out of the woodwork and restart their campaign to drag us back into the EU. But Boris has to stop that. His still substantial majority was won on the back of Brexit, and he must start maximising its potential and shouting about it from the rooftops. He cannot allow EU cheerleaders to wrongly paint it as a disaster in order to reverse it. If he does, that is will do it for him. Not Partygate. Trigger warning Wallies. The University of East Anglia has issued a so-called trigger warning to students about St. George slaying the dragon. They were told that the story contains descriptions of torture and violence. Who is going to tell the wokey little snowflakes that dragons do not exist and what they are frightened of is a fairy story? Tory Royal Rumble. At the Tories' summer party this week, one unnamed donor forked out £120,000 to have dinner with Theresa May, Boris Johnson, and David Cameron. As all three hate each other, I would have paid just to sit at the next table in case one of them threw a punch. GPs will never be satisfied. Another week, another story about whinging GPs. This week the Royal College of GPs polled 1,400 of its members and 42% said they would be quitting in the next 5 years. What is wrong with them? 6 out of 10 GPs already work just 3 days a week and, unlike a couple of decades ago, they can choose not to work evenings or weekends. They earn between £90,000 and £150,000 a year, some even more. Yes, of course they are busy, and I have no doubt the job is stressful, but so are the jobs of millions of other people who earn a lot less and work weekends. What did these doctors expect when they went into the business of saving lives? A relaxing, stress-free 9-to-5 existence?